So we see quite a lot stacked into whether or not you are going to push and be aggressive in this game, or if you're going to take it defensively and be protective. It will be very interesting to see how this goes. I feel like when I look at these two lists, I feel like Shalashaska has the unit count to be able to sit on his own objectives very safely and threaten Bolton Skincare's 4 objectives at all times. While as long as he threatens the far side objectives, Bolton Skincare will either have to commit to placing 2 of his much more expensive units, that would be effectively half his army, on his own deployment line and battle for the middle, or he has to kind of throw caution to the wind and be aggressive into Shalashaska, because if he just plays it slow, he will bleed towards a slow loss. Is my general guess.
Yeah, so he generally wants to just push. Well, I mean, yeah, do you want to push himself through to maybe one side of the table and then, try and hold out something? Because I mean, that's the thing with the Night's Watch. He has the raw power to get through whatever cheap units that Daryl Shalashaska is babysitting on the back objectives.
Yeah.
So he has.
What I would like to see Chris do is give up the 1 VP for controlling both of his objectives on his own side of the map, because that's a very high price to pay for sitting 2 of his 4 combat units in his own deployment zone. I would like him to just give up on that 1 VP and be aggressive and be assertive. I think it's his best chance of getting a win.
Cool.
So I think he should concentrate on the center objective, see how the battle goes, and then see if an opportunity opens up to push into the far side. We see him intelligently here already, understanding that he doesn't have the frontage across his own army to protect the entirety of his own back line against so many free folk, and what he really needs to do is narrow the battlefield as much as possible. His first terrain drop is that palisade, and if Shalashaska allows him, we would expect to see him mirror it on the far side. Generally, what I think Daryl might do here is drop a terrain piece on the opposite side of the board, simply to force or deny a palisade going down on the opposite side.
Yeah. It's always got seeing like a big, very high surface area terrain come out. So yeah, you can see Daryl's obviously picking some forest, and I think he's aware that obviously he's got builder crossbowmen who are going to sit on the other side, who can sit and babysit a objective while kind of threatening a higher up part of the board.
Yeah, I think that the builder crossbowmen will really be money here, because this game mode has a certain amount of defensive advantage. And I think that he will be able to use it to control how far Shalashaska wants to push forward, and he needs to slow the advance as much as possible.
So see that Daryl did put a forest down, and then Bolton Skincare Inc. immediately did exactly what he said and mirrored that narrowing of the battlefield of another palisade on the other side. But I guess it's not the end of the world for Daryl. He can always use one of his kind of chaffy units who are kind of just there as babysitters or as activations, I guess, to give up and get rid of them if he needs to. It just halts his advance, like you say, by another round.
Yep, it's just a single action delay, and I wouldn't be overly scared of it if I was Daryl. I wouldn't think I need to try and funnel myself through the middle. I would just take it slow and know that I needed to spend an action at some point to get rid of them. I would like to see him push the forest closer towards the edge so that the palisade couldn't fit in there. But it really isn't that. It's the best thing that Chris can do, but it doesn't have a huge impact unless Shalashaska lets it. If he feels that he has to funnel, then it can cause issues. But if he takes it slow, I think that a lot of what goes wrong in this game is when people think that they have to make big plays on turn 2, when really you can just wait till turn 3, turn 4, turn 5 to really do anything significant, because there aren't that many VPs available at the top of turn 2.
Oh, so you see Bolton has lost the deployment role, so Daryl can choose sides if he wishes so. Now, it's been so long since I played the mod, you can just rotate the map now if you wanted to, right?
Yes. There is under the newest TTS mod, which is the community mod. There is an option to just flip the table. The recommendation is to lock the terrain first, otherwise it does shift slightly, because TTS, as it is, being a physics engine for no real need, the entire thing is a physics engine. So when you spin something, everything moves slightly, rather than being in fixed spots. But if you fix the terrain first, then it will of course stay where it is.
Good stuff.
We see Shalashaska pass deployment choice over to Bolton Skincare, which is almost the standard move. I would say, unless there is something very strong on the map, unless the map has asymmetric objectives, we nearly always see choice of turn being the more important factor, and we see him win the role and pass choice of deployment to Bolton Skincare so that he gets choice of turn. Hello to Terra in the chat, who says free folk don't lose on this scenario. I haven't. I think that is quite likely when you consider the investment in resources that most people have to put into controlling their backline, and it allows them to really push into their opponent's field far more significantly than most factions can, and with far less fear of losing control. Statistically, we haven't got enough results yet to say that, but I'm sure they will push that way, just from looking at the game mode in general.
So we can see that Daryl's placed one of his raiders with a skin changer, I believe. If I can get it, yeah, one of his skin changers over on the left-hand flank from where the stream can see it. Obviously, I'm assuming that means he's going to babysit that point. Again, that makes sense with a very cheap unit. And we can see on the opposite side that Bolton has put down some ranger trackers, which as a mobile cavalry unit, they can kind of get around if they need to, maybe get up and remove a palisade if they want to play a more of aggressive push on this hand flank. Or, I mean, I'd imagine his crossbowmen will be babysitting the back objectives at some point, but let's see how this goes. So I think that's the chosen to steer. Yeah, free folk chosen to steer, sitting on this flank opposite the trackers.
So the armies that we have is we have a Harma army picked by Shalashaska, and he has 1, 2, 3, 4 units of raiders, and they bring with them a Chosen of Styre, a Skin Changer, Harma herself with Harma's Bannerman, and a second Skin Changer. To that, we add a single unit of Trappers and the Bone Lord's Chosen with Rattleshirt attachment, setting him back a big 10 points. Big investment on that powerhouse unit there, and which I assume will be going towards the center and looking to take on those veterans.
Yeah, that's one of Daryl's favorite units, so I was expecting him to play that.
We have on the NCU front, we have Mance Raider, Styre, and Lady Val, a relatively standard 11-point combo for a lot of free folk players. That triple threat sees a lot of play in general. Lots of people have come around to the idea more recently that Mance Raider is an incredibly powerful NCU at 4 points. And on the opposite side, we see Donal Noye commanding a unit of Veterans of the Watch, a unit of Ranger Trackers, a unit of Swarm Brothers, and Build a Crossbowman. No attachments, bare bones kind of thing going on, allowing for J.O. Mormont, NCU option, Amon and Varys. Amon and Varys making up comprising both of Chris's lists. I had a look before. He's playing 3 NCUs and 4 combat units in both his lists, and both of them run Amon and Varys, so he's a big fan of that combination, clearly. A relatively classic setup, I would say, for the Night's Watch in terms of committing to the 4 combat units. 4 relatively pricey combat units and 3 NCUs is pretty standard for a lot of Night's Watch players.
So, I mean, the board's almost fully set up now. I think Daryl just needs to put down 1 more unit. We have, obviously, both flanks of Daryl's side being flanked by these cheap raiders. And then a big kind of push in the middle. Maybe this is kind of hinting towards what Daryl's plan is. Maybe he likes the idea of these palisades being there to try and stop an aggressive push from Chris. But let's see.
A very interesting deployment on the Harma's Bannerman unit at the end there.
I can't tell if that is a real deployment or Daryl is just forgetting to place it, or maybe he feels like he needs to funnel himself so heavily into the center that he needs to place his unit in a really, let's say, meta position.
I'm not sure if he intended to leave enough space between the other 2 units and it doesn't fit, or if he, if he's playing some kind of mind games. The unit is directly pointed at the center objective. Pointing where you want to go allows for marching and has a much bigger effect than people often give it credit for. People often just point themselves forward, but being deployed deeper but facing the direction that you truly want to march in can have quite a big effect. Mostly on rounds 2 and rounds 3 of whether or not you've considered which direction you want to pivot at the end of your first turn march. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to be that far behind for that long. The Free Folk are a very maneuverable army, and I think that that there's no need to rush this game.
So the first move, that activation of the game, has been Daryl putting Mance onto Lettuce, throwing down Mance onto the trackers, and adding Panic to them as well. It looks like we're going to attack this card at the same time. Horner Wix Sleeper.
And just for Terra, so for Terra, the stats we have so far are that Free Folk, out of only 12 submissions for No Foe May Pass, they have a 75% win ratio. Night's Watch have played it 18 times, and they have a 50% win ratio. So it is quite favorable to the Free Folk at the moment. But they show that kind of win rate in quite a few game modes, actually. So it's not surprising, but yes, it is a very strong game mode for them.
So we see Bolton's making use of that horse zone to get his kind of semi-unmaneuverable army up the board. We've got Varys sitting down, and the veterans, I think, yeah. The veterans pushing in to the middle. Ooh, steer on the crown. So I mean, it's strong play by Daryl going straight to the crown. I mean, obviously the other zones aren't very useful at the moment. But you'd think you might have blocked the money bags to stop that panic. But let's see what happens. All that being said, the panic's already on. If he drops the panic attack. Oof. Yeah, so that's a failed panic.
So what I would always advise is if you've managed to achieve a token on a unit, and you're going to leave the money bags open, is that you should always take the panic check onto a different unit, because as it stands, Bolton Skincare can heal the 3 wounds you've just done with the crown test and the token at the same time. Yeah. But if you split them up, then you at least force your opponent to say, do I want to get rid of regain either the wounds or regain the token? And so even if it's a lower chance of happening, really you just want to split them out for what little advantage it gives you. It can just help kind of set you up with that extra token next turn. Mance is, of course, really powerful if he can start to just build up tokens throughout the game. So you want to remove as many opportunities as possible for your opponent to get rid of those tokens.
So it looks like Val's went down, taking a free maneuver with the trappers to get him into place. So Terra is saying Mance is a monster versus this Night's Watch list.
I think that Mance is a monster in general. He's quite a monster NCU. His tokens have some value, but what really it's about is about getting that stacked kind of set of tokens up so that you can get really up to 3 tokens and lose all abilities. In the middle of it, -1 attack dice, -1 movement for the first token, and then an additional -1 to hit for the second token. They really start to pay dividends. And then once you get that third token, it's just a complete shutdown, and you've taken a unit of veterans, for example, and turned them into almost nothing at all.
He's got Trappers move again. He's got a panic on him now.
Interesting. I think that could be presumably the slight misclick that sometimes gets made.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I personally was assuming that I liked the trappers moving up with Val, and I assumed that he was basically going to apply pressure on gaining a free shot into the veterans should they be aggressive and move up, and it was a way of controlling the distance. Now that they've moved again, I assume they've activated. The activation hasn't actually been clicked, but I think that there were better things to waste time with for myself.
He didn't even have to move forward really, because if you think about it, Chris is going to be going first next turn anyway, so that kind of opens himself up to a free charge if it's open, I guess. On the other side, it could be, that's bait. The Bone Lodge Chosen are kind of sitting just in the wings at the back, ready to take advantage of any openings.
What he has done is he's moved himself up so that he's within 12 inches, so that he can now force the veterans to take D3 wounds when they move. But you would assume that between the shot and some possible panic options, that the attack from the Free Folk Trappers could do a similar amount of damage and would leave them at a safer distance away. It's one of those things where he's taken some definite small amount of damage and taken that option over a possible bigger play. But it's all about controlling what options Chris has, and it's mostly because of his higher activation count. Shalashaska mostly just wants to be minimizing Chris's ability to make big plays at the start of the turn. Is my general opinion of how the high activation player should be looking to play.
So we have actually seen Daryl do his, I'm assuming that was a march.
Yep.
And it's exactly what you said, kind of moving them up alongside. And of course, Harma gets stronger with the cards the more, well, I think that's just a free folk in general, it's stronger the more units you have in combat with the unit you're attacking. So.
Got 3 sales in the chat now. Yep. Started just a while ago. We're still in our first turn of kind of prepping movements. I'm quite pleased to see that it looks like Chris is going to abandon the objectives on his own side, and I think that's what he needs to do. I'd be very surprised if Shalashaska did the same. And yeah, Terra, it's Varys, Amon, and Jael.
Supporting the Night's Watch 3 cells. Oh man, George, that is brave. How can one say something so brave yet so controversial?
We all like the underdog, and a 7 activation Night's Watch list into a game mode where they've not got the best history by comparison to the Free Folk, who've posted a pretty good record.
Yeah, we don't like the free folk around here, do we, Carlo?
I love them. I love them.
Oh, Daryl
No,
actually spiked you last week. Okay, John, that's fair enough. Then yeah, let's all support Chris in his endeavors then.
No, I find the Free Folk very interesting. They are. I still do believe that they are one of the more difficult factions to play, and by that what I mean is they are less forgiving of mistakes than other factions that have a similar play style, though it's debatable whether or not anybody strictly has the same playstyle as the Free Folk. But I would say that in a lot of ways, the Free Folk play similarly to the 10 activation Stark list, where we bring a lot of activations to the table, and we generally have a disparity in that some of them are very powerful and useful, and others are just there to kind of delay and waste time. When you compare it to that 10 activation Stark list, I do think that the Free Folk are less forgiving. They have one bad positional mistake can really start to unravel the game for you, and Mickey became definitely on the wrong side of that when he played the final of Boards and Swords just yesterday.
Oh, so did he lose the final?
Yeah, he
Oh,
got
no.
absolutely spanked in the end. Yeah, it was I believe something like 10-3, 11-3. All because, I mean, the Baratheons themselves have a general mechanic of really abusing you if you make a mistake. And just one aggressive maneuver, which didn't really need to happen, really started to unravel things for Mickey.
Ouch.
I think that if you were playing Starks, your upper end of strength would be lower, but that you would be able to recover from a mistake like that much more easily. But when played almost perfectly, the Free Folk are possibly the best faction out there. I mean, they are rated very, very highly on the site. They do have the highest win rate. I think they can play incredibly powerfully. The question is, how many mistakes are you going to make? And there are a lot of mistakes available to the Free Folk.
I suppose that's the thing, like the kind of low base average stats across the board for the Free Folk in comparison to the Starks running a similar sort of activation heavy list. I suppose that in itself is just a pretty big, factor in their win rates.
Yeah, their units will just unravel far more quickly if caught out of place than the Starks. Their attack profiles roll off much more quickly than the Starks, who have a very resilient attack profile. So you can get out of position with the Starks, you can get outmaneuvered and get charged and survive the attack and still be very powerful and aggressive. Whereas the Free Folk need to remain powerful and aggressive, and a few bad positional plays will result in them just losing all of their aggressive output.
Cool. So it looks like you are right. Chris is just completely decided that he doesn't want his back objectives. I mean, it's turn 1. Do you score objectives on turn 1 in this mode, or is it only from turn 2?
No, at the end of turn 2. So
cool.
he does
still open
still
himself
have
if he wants to.
the option to go back for them if that's the way it goes. But I do like his much more aggressive start here. And I like the position on these crossbows. Directly behind the wall means that dead activation to get past the wall is going to cost you, because it will be at a time when the crossbowmen are getting shots off and doing powerful plays. I would like to see him just start to look at removing units from the board as early as possible and start shooting with the crossbowmen as his first NCU activation next round.
Yeah, because essentially anything that wants to break through that wall is going to take at least 2 shots if it wants to charge the build crossbowmen, right, with the set for charge.
Yeah, exactly. And there's very, very little opportunities to get round and not be charging in the front arc with that unit.
So seeing dice go off, I take, is that a charge going or?
No, so we've seen the trappers order get used onto the veterans. They took 1 wound from the D3, and we've seen the end of the round clean up. And Steyr did 3 hits to the Swarm Brothers, which resulted in 1 more wound. So we've just seen a little peppering of ranged wounds from the free folk. The trappers look quite exposed right now, but I'd still like to see the crossbowmen kind of start to push their damage out first, rather than overextend the veterans in a charge that will leave them a bit out of position and won't entirely wipe out the trappers. Which means that, you know, it's neither here nor there that it's been quite an aggressive turn. And that's very interesting. We see Bulwark formation come down onto the veterans, which make them very, very defensive, very, very strong in this central position, up until the point where they make until they make their next activation, which means that that Bolton Skincare can now just leave them and really doesn't want to move them, and they can weather a huge amount of damage right now. That's a really nice card and really nice play.
2+ with the counter attack as well for all blocked hits. Oof. You could just kill things by running.
And we see Force March get played in return as another start of round card. So we're going to see these trappers possibly just getting out the way as much as anything else, but they are moving into the flank now of those veterans.
It's still a tough choice though, because those trackers can easily decide whether they want to go for the trappers or just run straight past them and just take out the raiders in the back.
Yeah. Those trappers I think are quite baity. Their level of impact on the game is dependent on whether or not they really get into a position that you care about, and whether or not you care about their order, whether or not you allow their order to continuously chip away damage on you. I think that these crossbowmen can just start to melt units, and if Bolton, let's put it this way, Bolton Skincare's best chance of winning this game is to turn it into a bloody all-out war and ignore the objectives on the table. And to do that, he should start to push the damage as much as possible without compromising his board position.
So we've got some chatting. But I mean, on the other side of here, if Chris does decide to just completely forego his 2 back objectives and he can't find a way of pushing through into the back, as long as Daryl keeps the middle objective contested, it would, like you say at the beginning of the game, just bleed out Chris.
Yeah, the game mode is very favorable to the more aggressive player for the points it's offering, but he will be losing 1 point a turn. And against free folk particularly, there aren't a ton of opportunities to regain those points through battle. We see JR go down onto letters. JR has a good influence effect with beneficial additions from the letters onto those veterans, but I would really have liked to seen swords.
Looks like Mantis going down. Oh, we're getting a roll.
We got Carl the Peacekeeper, West Coast Bannerman.
Hello.
Arriving in chat.
Carl the Mystery Knight.
Well, Tara will let everybody know that you're rooting for the Night's Watch. So we see Mance come down, and he's starting to apply those tokens. And interestingly, he's covering up the money bags, more as a protective use of denying the token removal from Mance. It's a useful play, but very interesting because I really, I'll keep saying it. I think the most important space on the board right now is swords. So I'm surprised that it hasn't come yet.
So we've seen the Bone Lords have a weaken token on them, and Daryl has just placed. I don't know if that's just a misplay or maybe it's a misclick. But I imagine that weakens come from the geo going down on envelopes. So it's surprising you just didn't get rid of it.
I also believe that, so we currently have a vulnerable on the trappers, but I believe that they should be weakened from Force March, not vulnerable.
Are crossbows within range to sword and shift? Are crossbows long range or short range?
I believe they are. Yeah, they're long range. Yeah, I believe they've measured. I believe they're actually already in range to attack.
So measuring line of sight were not just in the center of their tray. So would they actually have any shot?
No. So the range is center.
Okay.
Center to anywhere. The line of sight is from anywhere on your tray to anywhere else on their tray, so you can see directly past. And what's interesting is people sometimes mistake it. The two aren't the same thing. The line that you use to gain line of sight doesn't need to be within range. Just the center of your base has to be within range. It's a bit odd, but yes, they definitely meet all the requirements, which is they have line of sight, which we see in measuring there. I mean, they have a line using that line that they're looking at, and if they clicked attack, they would see that they were within 12, and that's before they even shift. So
we have seen Varys go down on the swords.
We've seen Varys come down and taking a shot, and we see 7 dice coming out, presumably hitting on 3s. I'd really like them to just click the circle here, and it will show you what the range is.
I don't know. Dual tape measures.
Yeah.
Why do vets have an activation token? I'm assuming either it's an activation, but I can't remember them, foregoing it.
The vets haven't activated. Whew, big roll. We see 7 out of 7 hits. Going down against this Raiders unit with a Skin Changer Bear. A great unit to shoot. It's bonus when you, if we can get rid of the unit, you can get the bear gone for a freebie. And we see 6 wounds, only the 1 save with the Sundering. More importantly, we see maximum wounds from the panic test. And this is the kind of damage that you have to know that these crossbowmen can do, and is the kind of thing that Bolton needs to be playing for. He's just going to have to start removing activations as soon as possible. But that almost literally couldn't have gone better, but hasn't destroyed the unit, but leaves them in such a strong place that a Crowns is now very, very threatening. And really, I think Shalashaska is going to have to Crown to protect them. But instead, it looks like he's making he's either looking at whether or not a maneuver would get him out of range or not. But actually, I think that he's making a big risk because
that Crown can still take him out.
He's taking an activation, and I think we will see a Crowns try and finish them off.
Yeah, and there it is.
It's not a guarantee. Obviously, they're going to have to fail that test. But they are going to die from the D3 for sure. With the -1, we're looking at a 9.
Oh, we've lost the dice. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Okay,
let's give that another roll. We can hit off the table again.
It's a 7.
And we see the fail. We see the unit die. The Skin Changer technically doesn't die until the end of the... or does he die straight away when the Skin Changer dies? And for 3 sales. Strong start from the Night's Watch.
Let's see if you see the issue with Daryl losing this game 3 sales is that he's already prophesied that he will lose it, and if you know Daryl, him being right in a situation is almost worse than him winning. So that leaves Daryl's raiders in a precarious position because all Chris has to do is move his crossbowmen up, and then he can start taking pot shots again.
Yep. So these crossbowmen are now still unactivated, and they dominate a big space of the battlefield. Of you can't advance any closer on this side, otherwise I will, risk doing that to you again.
Mhm.
Like that's entirely a possible kind of outcome from a shot from the crossbowman. Never mind two. So he doesn't have anything that can go over there and get them now. I think what he needs to do is keep as far away from them as possible until he can apply some pressure. He should be trying to apply pressure to the center in terms of the veterans, but because of Donal, Bulwark Formation, and J.R. Mormont, they are a tough nut to crack right now. Okay, and we see a charge come in from the trappers. A very interesting move.
Yeah, from a fainting maneuver, which is a really strong Harma card. To use them on
Yeah.
trappers is very. I mean, yeah, and they don't get charge or flank bonuses with the Bulwark Formation, so I don't know whether Daryl has just misplayed it, or maybe he thought that was going to work.
If he wants to crack this veteran's nut, he needs to throw a lot at it. I think it's quite a hasty move, though. He does have the ability to wait out the. They have Styre on them, so that will help to push through a little bit. But really, yeah, it's going to be a very weak attack here. The advantage is that a lot of what the veterans have in terms of counterplay is their counterattack, which is an order. So he could well be trying to draw out the counterattack order here.
Yeah, that's crazy. So we actually seen two rolls of two, which would have been in any other circumstance 2 wounds.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's a failed morale chest.
But yes, he's gotten somewhat lucky. So Styre, of course, forces through the damage. You're always going to be able to do at least one wound and force a check of some kind. But because of that JR influence, he only even takes one wound from the test because he controls money bags. Because he controls crowns. Between letters, crowns, and swords, he has he has a lot of powerful defensive abilities on this stacked on this unit.
So yeah, Francesco in the chat has just said, didn't the vets block? And they would have been on a 2+. He isn't getting a charge bonus because of Bulwark Formation. He's already on a +1 to the defense save roll, so he wouldn't have even had to have rolled a morale test in the first place. So that should have just been a straight up block.
No, so Styre, we saw Styre is attached to the trappers, and he did an automatic D3 wounds, which was one wound. So he did one wound. Styre forced through at least one damage.
Got you.
So we saw nothing from the attack, but Styre's auto wounds did the one wound and caused the test. And interestingly, we see Chris not take the opportunity to counterattack, which is, I think, the one thing that Daryl was looking to draw out with that attack.
Yeah.
Because the followers of Bone or the Raiders will want to be doing a much higher number of hits, but they will be really, really scared of the 2+ save that can counterattack into them. So that's why Daryl's thrown it in my opinion. But he's hoped for Chris to be hasty with his use of the counterattack, and Chris has remained patient about it, and it's now a big question of whether or not he's going to choose to follow it up with lots of other charges this turn.
And really, at this point, Chris doesn't need to necessarily do very much. At the end of this round, he's not going to score any victory points. But if he's patient and he waits it out, it could be even a table.
As it stands, he does control the center objective. He's not contested by somebody with more wounds than him. The new card that just got played, 3 sales, is the fire that burns against the cold. And so when he activates, he can place 1 condition token on an enemy within long range. So he's put down a panicked onto the trappers, and because he controls crowns, he can keep control of that card and keep doing that. He also looks to have put the vulnerable out with the set target, or what's their actual ability called? Mark target.
Yeah, mark target.
Yeah. But I do think that they forgot the weakened from the force march. With only 2 hits that didn't do any wounds, it would not have made any significant difference to the attack.
Yeah, so we've seen a roll of 2 on the charge, which means it's going to be quite an easy in for Down. For Chris, should I say?
Interesting that he plays very cautiously, maneuvering into the flank on purpose rather than taking the rear charge that he had.
Yeah.
Because he's just in a much more defensive position here. He protects his line much better, and he doesn't overextend. The trappers are on such bad morale between the corpse pile and the flank anyway. You really doubt that the extra -1 will do much, and they only save on 6s either way. So I like the move. I think that Chris has already managed to turn it into a very bloody battle, which is what he needed it to do, and now he just needs to not get outmaneuvered with his smaller frontage. So now there's a lot of pressure on Daryl as to whether or not he's going to abandon his own objectives in the backfield, or if he's going to become the defensive player. He is currently scoring 1 VP for his own 2, and is giving up 2 VPs. So he's not in a great position already.
And we've just seen a huge drop in health on those trappers, which is to be expected from a side charge, or from anything really. So we got 3 from the panic check, plus 4 from... Oh, and we've seen a vulnerable get spent to reroll, I guess. The vulnerable that didn't exist,
Yeah.
But okay. Yeah, so we're seeing a total of 8 models coming off that 1 tray in just 1 charge. Which again now puts Chris in complete control, as you just said, of the center objective, and forces Daryl to do what he needs to do. Why is Nightwatch gaining 2 VPs? So for controlling the centerpiece Francesco in this game mode, you get 2. For controlling one of the opponent side objectives, you get 3. And from controlling both of your side objectives, you get 1.
So there is an objective directly under the front of those Night's Watch veterans. So it uses objective full cover control, more ranks contests. So unless Shalashaska can get the ranks down on that unit, he will definitely keep those 2 VPs. And even if he does, he needs to be very aware that he might pull in that counter attack and do a lot of damage to himself. They seem to have a tiny bit of problems with this tray, which is that he has managed to get the unit down to
I think that the back
there's
model
a model that I think they just need to remove it manually.
So George is saying it's only 1 from the center plus 1 for the commander. I mean, yeah, I guess that would.
I apologize. I could well be wrong. Yeah, you're right. 1 VP for the center and 1 for controlling both friendlies.
Cool.
Yeah.
But he will be getting 2 from Donal being in the unit of vets, right?
No, that still is only if you control enemy objectives with your army commander. So yeah, it's going to be a 1-1 as it is, but I think that it's still a very tough spot. Yeah, you're right, Francesco. Sorry, I thought that it was a basic 2 points for the center objective. This unit has taken a lot of damage. I'm not actually 100% sure where that came from. Were you?
I didn't.
More attention.
No, I saw a couple of rolls, Garth, from Chris's side, but I didn't see what was causing them.
Unless it was an attack with the trappers. Did they really manage to do that much damage?
Well, what we've seen, it's
Because the trappers charged with Harma's order,
yeah,
and were unactivated, so they of course could have just activated.
yeah,
But that seems crazy that they would have just done. There was Steyr. Of course, they could have attacked. They just attacked with Steyr. So I think that the first 2 wounds or 3 wounds must have been from Steyr himself. Yeah, I think we've just seen a Steyr attack come in.
We have seen 2-1 defenses come in.
Yeah.
So Francesco was saying, do you think it'd be better if the center was 2 points? I guess it would. In my opinion, it would stop the game mode from being very defensive, because you've kind of got really 2 completely opposing playstyles that you can easily get away with, either very defensive, holding the back line in the center, or you can do what we assumed Chris was going to do and try and push through to the opponent's side. What do you think, Carlo?
It's interesting. So I think maybe if the center objective is worth 2, then the battle might entirely revolve around the center objective. As long as it's only worth 1, there is still such a huge goal to getting your opponent's backfield objectives. But I do feel like I feel like the game is already decided by majority by the center objective, which is that the center objective draws the attention early in the battle, and as you fight over the center objective, you either give up or don't give up opportunities for your opponent to fly onto your backfield objectives. I haven't seen it played out enough to make a big judgment on whether or not I think that 1 or 2 is right, but I think that in the balance of the way this game is playing out, I'm glad that it's only 1, because it at least gives Shalashaska the option to remain patient, as opposed to if he was currently 2 for 1 down, he would be forced to go all out aggressive right now, even if he didn't want to. I still think it's his best play, but mostly because he is start of the first activation next round. And he does have those veterans in to a killable position now, but they have 2+ saves, and Steyr was his best tool to crack that open. He's used him twice. He's used him to good effect. He's got a good number of wounds off, but can he do anything else versus those 2+?
And again, like you said, if Daryl's going to play this patiently, and that card is only going to last until the end of the round, assuming he doesn't have another bulwark formation, he could just wait it out. Because, like you say, it's just going to be 1-1 at the end of this round.
I would consider him positioning his raiders ready to charge the flank with Harma at the start of next round.
Yeah.
His other options are, I believe, if we count it up, he might have activation advantage enough that the veterans have to activate before him, and they have to allow bulwark formation to be removed, because bulwark formation is only active from the start of the round through to the point where the unit makes its activation.
Looks like I've got some reading of cards. Yeah, George, kill trappers and pull back. I mean, Chris is at the moment in such a good aggressive offensive position. I don't know whether he needs to. Like he could make that charge difficult, but it depends what Donal cards he's got. So if you see this one, when a friendly combat unit begins its activation engaged, that unit gains +1 to hit and rolls 2+ dice this turn, which could make the veterans very, very strong. And it looks like that is what is happening. But obviously, of course, as soon as he uses this unit, if this is this veteran attacking into the trappers, he's going to lose that bulwark formation. It looks like that card has gone. That's a very strong roll by Daryl, considering we've got 5 saves and no 1 save. Yeah, that's a dead trapper unit.
The question is whether or not the veterans will try and keep their current position. They are not as healthy as they were. If they stay, they're at a real risk of dying. They still have that counterattack, and they still will have a good save to the front, but they are vulnerable. They don't have that bulwark formation anymore. But if they retreat, they probably quite likely give up the control of the token. Just to a simple march action, although I do believe neither of the units are actually facing perfectly at it. This is kind of what I was talking about in terms of people overlook the value of how far a march can take you, and how correct positioning and angling at the end of your early turns can really improve your maneuverability. He looks to just be opening up a little bit more of a distance to Harma's unit, making that a more difficult charge.
Yeah, because no matter what, I mean, he's still always got the corpse pile to hinder that charge potentially from the Bone Lodge Chosen. I mean, it's probably not going to do that much. It's probably going to still be a successful charge, but you never know. 1 and 2 on a Disorderly is still pretty strong, especially with a unit that is currently weakened.
We see Bone Lords Chosen looking like they're measuring a 7-inch charge if they miss the corpse pile. A 2+. It's a good option and the best choice. The only issue is that if he does fail the charge, he will be blocking the raiders from going in, which is why we also see him considering a charge with the raiders at 8 inches first, because they will not block the Bone Lords Chosen if they fail their charge.
Looks like they're going in.
This looks like a
3+
charge, and I think we're gonna see these these vets of the watch die this round. That's gonna be big, particularly because if they do, it opens up the Bone Lords Chosen with Rattleshirt to take Onslaught with swords at the start of next round. And we have to ask ourselves, are you ready to risk that against Varys still having 1 token left?
Four plus to hit, right? So we're getting 5 hits through. Is it 4+ or is it 5+ for Raiders? I can never remember.
It's 4+ for the Raiders.
Cool.
So that's what they really want. They want to come in second for that gang up, but as we were talking about, that would be a big risk with that Bone Lords Chosen failing their charge.
Ooh.
We see 3 fails at the moment, and we may even see a vulnerable get used. Unsure about whether or not the counter attack was used on this attack.
Yeah, are we actually? They're not 2+ anymore. They're 3+, right? Because he's activated them to attack.
Yeah. So they're in at 3+ at the moment.
Yeah. And another failed panic check.
Oh
my gosh.
We see just the one though, because JR is still he's saved a tonnage of wounds this round just from the failed panic checks alone.
So and this roll?
We see a single dice being rolled out. That was a failed charge from the Bone Lords Chosen. That one to charge on a 2+ would have blocked the Raiders from coming in and would have left everybody all over the place. We see a panic check in response to the failed charge. That's unfortunate that he didn't get in there and push that unit to be finished off. But it's not the end of the world.
He's still denying the point at the end of the round as well, so it is going to be 1 up for Daryl.
Yeah, he's taking the first VP, and this next round will be absolutely crucial. I still think he wants to block swords, otherwise those crossbowmen are really going to go to town. Except that the issue is that an Amon Moneybags rapidly gets these veterans back into play.
Mm-hmm.
So if Varys blocks the sword play, then he takes a massive risk that the veterans could just come back fully healthy.
And if Daryl chose to just decide to block, he's still going to get what's Aemon 1+2, so it's going to be 3+. It's better than taking the 6 back.
He really wants to get this unit dead before Aemon can activate. I maybe second guess my original thought that he needs to block swords. I think maybe he needs to commit to an actual charge with the Bone Lord's Chosen, but that's a very difficult proposition. And here we see the value of Varys, which is it's not about whether or not he does block the zone. It's that your opponent is at such a huge risk if they try and play the board right now. He can shut down such huge plays. I think personally I would go for the swords play, because I think that the counter shot from the crossbowman is so huge that I would just take the veterans healing in this situation. That's a big risk to say, though. I think we see another bulwark formation come down.
That's another bulwark.
Another bulwark formation means that it's not easy to finish this unit off. Mm-hmm. They have a 2+ save. You do have the vulnerable, but between the counterattack and the 2+ save, they are tough. Does that change things?
I mean, yeah, because then you're kind of basing, even if you did, like you say, take the swords and try and kill them off with the Harma Raiders, or just use the Harma Raiders as an activation, that is going to be a tough nut to crack, really. So we've seen a roll go down here. That was the charge roll. So we have successfully seen a charge. We've seen Daryl activate the Bone Lord's Chosen as his first activation of round 3. That could be quite pivotal, depending on how many hits he gets. If he rolls very well.
Interesting little small things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so we've seen group assault at the same time as well. It looks like Carlo might have disappeared. Robo Carlo. So we have got Critical Blow and we've got Sundering, which is going to make these attacks quite difficult, but that has been quite a whiffed roll. There's only 3 hits that are going to go through, but again, that's going to be 4 altogether with the Critical Blow and a 3 and a 4. And Sundering. Could this be enough? That is enough.
He can definitely go through this unit. It's not impossible. He will probably take quite a bit of damage from a counterattack order, which I expect.
Carlo the Terminator, you're right. Yeah, this is actually just proving the point that we all think Carlo's actually an agent from the Matrix, and this is just really proving the point. He seems to have dropped from the game as well, so I'd imagine he'll be back in a second or so. But that's been a big swing really for things, because veterans are especially a bulwark as well. They are incredibly hard to kill, and Daryl's managed to do it with a charge from trappers, a set of raiders, and then a nice little sweep up with the Bone Lord's Chosen.
I think I'm back in now.
You're back in.
And from your commentary, I hear that we've managed to get. He managed to pull off that the kill with that charge.
He did, yeah. It was a 1 and a 2. He could have, if he just rolled 1 more. If he didn't have that Sunring, if Daryl didn't have that group assault, that would have been a different story altogether.
Did we see counterattack get played at all?
Nope, doesn't look like it. I don't think he managed to play the order the entire time they were alive.
So I think that he's either forgotten about it or he's always been holding out for a better choice, an option.
Mm-hmm.
a better time, and I think that will come to cost him. I think he could have put enough damage out across these raiders and these Bone Lord Chosen between the counterattack that he could have done last turn and the counterattack he could have just done then.
So we're seeing Varus go down. I'm assuming
within just like killing distance.
So Varus is going down. I'm assuming on the swords.
Yeah.
It makes sense for that to be onto the Bill Crossbowman. Now Daryl is in a very precarious position right now because he's played this aggressive push into the center, and he has 2 units that are going to sit there. One is, is a chaff unit, and one is his big 10-point beefy unit against 3 still very strong contenders. It'll be very difficult with 2 units to hold this center as Daryl. So I wonder if we're going to see him pivot into more of an aggressive push with the raiders, trying to sprint them along the sides.
Yeah. And we even see the crossbowman able to move into the side. And he's going to be shooting with Sundering and a flank.
So we've seen 5 hits. And that's going to be, what was that? 4 wounds.
Oh, passes in morale check. Just the 4 wounds, but this is the big counter that I was scared of. These crossbowmen are now unactivated. The Bone Lords Chosen are activated, stuck in position with no swords available to them. They can't use the charge. They would have really loved to have made their charge with Rattleshirt's onslaught ability, but it felt like too much of a risk to play into Varus's token.
Mm-hmm.
This is what Varus and Aemon do as a pair. They make you unwilling to take the board as your first choice. And yet, if you don't wipe out a unit, if you take a risk with it, Aemon will massively spring them back up to full health again, full ranks. So Chris is really able to punish Daryl for having destroyed that unit.
So it looks like Varus has went down. I'm assuming that means Daryl's playing. Yeah. And it's passed, so he's blocked, I'm assuming, the ability of someone.
Yeah, so we got Mance activating.
Okay, yeah, it's went on to the money bags.
He comes onto the Swarm Bros. I think that so Mance still has his own abilities. He's going to be placing a token, reducing the speed by 1 and the attack dice by 1. He's gone for the panic, which is interesting. I think he might maybe need that weakened. But what we really are going to see, I think, is we're going to see these crossbowmen shoot these Bone Lord Chosen in the side, and then see these Swarm Brothers come in afterwards to finish and mop them up.
Aemon dropping down on the lettuce. Oh, Geo Shalashaska dropping down on the lettuce.
I think we might see the Bone Lords Chosen retreating through Lady Val. They won't get far enough away from the crossbowmen to not be shot, I don't think. But I wonder if Daryl maybe should have been already retreating after having finally killed off those veterans. I think maybe he should have retreated with his surge forth use rather than pushing forward, because that unit really is right out there and pretty in the thick of it with not a lot going for it. I really don't think it's going to survive the round as it stands.
Because really, he could have just put himself into a very similar position as the last round of the veterans in the middle. He could have just pulled back and waited for Chris to pick up the middle token, and then a group assault and put both of these forward and kind of slowly whittle them down with the 2 units he's got there. So we're seeing Daryl. He looks like he's maneuvering. I think Lady Val has went down. No, Styre has went down.
We've seen Styre onto the horses. He's trying to decide if he wants to push further deeper in or kind of retreat, it seems, which is, which is an interesting question, but I think he can't retreat far enough away, and pushing further in isn't going to do anything for him. He's never going to be able to make a charge into the front of the crossbowman. That will almost undoubtedly kill him. He almost seems to be offering Harma up as bait to try and keep his Bone Lord's Chosen alive, but he has somewhat committed to this forward position right now. He has covered the token, and he's covered it in such a significant way that he can probably retreat and still maintain coverage of the token. But he's losing the fight for the middle right now because his two raiders are not putting in any work at all. And Chris is throwing his entire weight onto this combat. And what little strength he has left on the board, Shalashaska is separating across and being unsure about whether or not he wants to commit to combat or hoarding objectives. What's interesting about the game mode in general, though, is that Shalashaska is 2-0 up, and Chris doesn't have many ways to score points other than by coming and getting one of these two corner objectives. If he comes and gets it, that's a ton of points every turn. But he has to win the center combat and push through as quickly as possible because he is still losing on VPs. And if Daryl holds his nerve and keeps his units in the corners as far away as possible, he might be able to wait him out depending on how slow he can lose the central combat. I think for me, he can't lose it slow enough.
Yeah.
But
so George is saying bets on the tabling. I mean, it's strong. There's 3 units of raiders here, so it wouldn't take very much. I reckon probably just the builder crossbowmen and the outriders could probably do it, or tracker, should I say. But it depends on if Daryl can keep these Bone Lord's Chosens alive, and not only just keep them alive, but have them at least become of some use. That is a tough question, but at the moment, it seems like it could be very easy for Chris to completely flip this around. At the moment,
it could be, but don't forget, as soon as he plays aggressively into the night swap, into the free folk deployment zone, he leaves himself massively open to the endless horde, particularly from the Bone Lord's Chosen. Now, if he can redeploy right there, ready to charge in a flank, then what looks like Chris securing an easy position, Chris still has the crossbowmen that are not really going to be able to take ground. They take zone. They have like a zonal control effect, and they're massively exerting their zone into the center at the moment. The Ranger trackers can run off and claim an objective by themselves, but they would be very, very susceptible to the counter from the Endless Horde. So we see a absolutely huge crit blow charge from the Swarm Brothers, and fire that burns against the cold denies the weakened token.
Yeah. That is going to be what, 8 dice plus that, so it's 11 dice altogether. Oh.
You see 11 hits from this charge. So many so that Daryl has to multiply new dice.
Yeah, with weakened, with vulnerable and panicked.
This could just be a blown up unit straight away.
Popped.
Yeah. And this is the importance of those tokens. Like, you need tokens to push through good rolls to make a good roll into an incredibly explosive action. Yeah, we see 11 wounds with the Sundering, and this panic token makes it an almost guarantee that he will get a fail here. With the
doesn't even need it. Doesn't even need it.
Huge play. Chris should want to push through and gain as much ground as possible, as fast as possible, because he won't win until he takes at least one of the objectives in Daryl's deployment zone. But he has to not give up too much ground for doing it.
And it's Chris to go next round, right? We've got an activated unit of Bone Lord's Chosen here. Is there any way that he could get his entire Swarm Bros up onto this objective and then flip him around to face the flank of the Bone Lord's Chosen?
I think he can probably get into their flank arc. I don't think he can control the objective.
Okay.
Partly just because of how close the Bone Lords Chosen are. He won't be able to be within an inch
Of
at the
course,
end.
yeah.
He also is currently crossing the corpse pile, so it's a generous, and crossing the Bone Lords Chosen, so it's a generous move if it gets allowed. See the way the unit slides? That's because it's hit the other tray. That's maybe one of the only good things about the physics engine in TTS is it really, really lets you know when two things have hit each other because they start sliding all over the table. If they just pivot a bit further, then they could make it round. They can make it. I think they can make it into the flank. I don't think that they can make it onto the objective.
It looks like Chris is trying to find another area. He doesn't really need to. He just needs to pull his unit a little bit further along. Aim them a little
I
bit
think he
further.
just wants.
He's just
Maybe now he's
bloodthirsty,
thinking that he wants to defend. Yeah, he just wants to defend those crossbowmen now if he can't get the objective. I think the 1 point is really not important to him. This game is decided on whether or not he can take and hold one of the 3 point objectives. It won't be decided on a single point in the center. It will be decided by whether or not these crossbowmen can blow up these Bone Lords Chosen, and more importantly, whether or not the Bone Lords Chosen can come back soon enough that they can affect the game.
Oh, I was saying, yeah, a little maneuver along. Between the trackers and the crossbows, yeah, I think, I would imagine the crossbows are going to do work against these guys. And you're right, with the trackers still not being activated, they can easily get in and get a charge off if you want to. But as Carlo was saying, George, if he has Endless Horde, that could potentially be giving up. Well, who's Daryl's commander? Harma. He could see Harma sitting on Chris's home field objective and scoring 4 points at the end of this round.
We see the. Okay. So through use of Val. So interesting that he's left. Chris has left the tactics board open for Daryl to play because he wanted to get in there and destroy that raider unit before they had the chance to activate. But that has, of course, left Lady Val able to go and change that crown zone into a maneuver and allowed Daryl to come in and reclaim this center objective. We might see the Ranger trackers. We might see the crossbowmen shoot and the Ranger trackers look to finish this unit off. That would be risky, though. And in this position, Chris is winning. But if Daryl can force him to take risks, he starts to open up opportunities for himself to come back into the game.
Out of interest, George, did you manage to pick up one of the Night Watch starters when they came back in stock? I think they're all sold out now. Because I know you're quite new to the game. It seems to be you've kind of joined the community at such a nice time in terms of Night Watch. Oh, I sure did. Yeah. Did you pick up one? You did, Carla, didn't you? Picked up the whole set.
Yeah. I added a sixth faction to my collection. So, yep.
And this is one you had to actually pay for, Carlo.
Hey, well, you can't win every faction box, can you? So I think we'll see the crossbowmen make a shift and shot here. They have the potential to still wipe out these Bone Lords Chosen, depending on how well this attack goes. I think it depends on whether or not the Ranger trackers will try and swing in and finish them off. If the attack's bad, then Chris might still be tempted to make the Ranger trackers attack, but I would like him to be more patient than that.
Cool.
By the way, don't forget about the Northern Realms merch, and I received a general email today from Teespring, having ordered in the past, and basically they say that they're at full capacity in terms of making all the great merch again. So this code, Bounce Back, will get 10% off anything at Teespring up until today. So I think you have about 1 hour to use it. So if you want to go and get something from Northern Realms, then if you've been on the fence, then do it right now.
Yeah.
You get 10% off.
And I mean, if you're not just a Song of Ice and Fire fan, there's also the Gamma Wave TV merch is up there as well, which is our Crisis Protocol kind of wing of what we've been doing recently.
We see a panic fail with the -1 from the corpse pile.
It's not
doesn't need to use panic. Leaving him on 3 wounds, this is definitely something the Ranger trackers would be very tempted to come in and finish off.
Yeah.
They may choose to shoot. Shooting is in some ways the safer option, except for the fact that it doesn't allow that search forth onto the token.
But I guess he doesn't really need it. It's only, what, round 3 of 6? He could easily
He doesn't need the point. The question is whether or not he thinks there's any real risk from the charge. You have to ask yourself whether or not Horrific Visage is something that you care enough about to want to take the shot instead.
Yeah, it does even out. Oh, all painted up. I like to hear that, George. I like people who paint their units. I'm not actually throwing shade at you here, Carlo. It's mainly at Daryl, because Daryl has literally a full house of minis that aren't painted. But it's good to see people.
I'm currently trying to get my my faith-based list finished in terms of painting. I have like a Tyrion Lannister list, which has been painted for a decent while now. But the faith one has really always kind of ground on me, mostly because it's quite a poor fellow's heavy spam. So they are a bit of a chore to paint. I generally love the Lannister models, but the poor fellows are just a little bit repetitive, particularly once you've got 4 units of them.
Yeah, once you've got every box of it in the UK, I can imagine it gets difficult.
But Lannisters are basically the only army I have managed to paint. I think I will try and get my Baratheons done soon after, because they are a real joy to look at in terms of models, and the reason why I always wanted them as much as I wanted Lannisters. Yeah. The other armies are all just because I can.
I've just upgraded my my airbrush compressor actually, so I've got a free air compressor if you want it. If you want to get through those poor fellas a bit quicker.
Ooh.
So we are seeing, obviously, the trackers start to move. I wonder if he's going to go for the ranged or whether he's just going to run straight in. I mean,
he's coming close as possible.
Yeah.
If we see a single dice get rolled, which we are, I think we're seeing a charge.
And it's a 6. That's him straight in.
Successful charge.
I mean, even with Visage, what is that? It's not a minus. There's no negation to it. So the only thing we have is the corpse pile minusing 1 from the current 7. That's still a 6. It's still not exactly that scary of a roll to make.
No, it's not. But the problem is that there is a possibility. It is a very possibility that he would have lost the rank.
Yeah.
I think we see a fail, and I think we see 3. Yeah, we see 3 wounds come off. And see, this is your issue. You've just allowed Prey on Fear. You've allowed Rattleshirt to heal 2 wounds. I really would have liked him to be patient and shoot. The need to kill off this unit wasn't... He didn't have to kill this unit this round. And he's now really put himself in a bit of a hole here with this attack, because he's made Rattleshirt significantly harder to finish off. We might still see him die. I think we're going to see, we see 3 wounds after the vulnerable, and can he survive the panic? He's got a -2, -1 from the flank, -1 from the corpse pile.
And the
it's a big pass at the moment. It's a big pass at the moment, and neither of the dice are low enough that Chris can keep them. So he's now relying on that token, and it doesn't pay off for him. That's a big pass. And even though Rattleshirt isn't in a great position, he holds the token, he is not contested, he scores a VP, and more importantly, he can do some damage with a swords attack at the start of next round. It's going to take significant investment for Chris to finish this unit off now. And is going to make the VP lead get even bigger.
Yeah.
I think he maybe didn't consider the ramifications of if he failed that test, possibly forgetting cut them down, or possibly even forgetting that horrific visage existed at all. I think when you think about all those ramifications, taking a shot is just a significantly safer option.
I think that's the thing about horrific visage. Since it's such a like kind of external impact on the game as a whole, a lot of people kind of, I mean, dismiss it as being something that's really useful. I think if you've played into maybe a Black Gods with Tywin or kind of a neutral heavy panic list, it is much scarier. And especially if you're a newer player, so Georgia, you might not have been aware of this, but before this version of the game, it used to be the difference in dice roll on the panic that would equal the amount of minis you could lose. You could lose what, a potential of what, 10, I guess, on a panic if you get snake eyes. And that's with plus, that's without cutting them down. So if you had cut them down and a snake eyes on a roll that was like -8, and whatever way you've got that, you could have lost an entire unit just to a morale check.
So Francesco is asking, I'm pretty sure I'm not actually got the rules in front of me, but maybe I should read what they do. So I believe what you're asking is whether or not the trackers could have maneuvered to have their position outside of the forest, which they did, and then shot, and whether or not cover would still apply. I believe that cover wouldn't apply, which is because it's when tracing line of sight, if the majority of the defender's tray is concealed by this terrain, the attacker suffers -1 to hit. It's quite a difficult thing. Actually, cover, I always find it more complicated than it seems to be. But assuming that Chris moves his unit with the maneuver so that the front of his base, which is where line of sight is drawn from, the front of the base, is outside of the forest, then the forest isn't intervening the two units and there would be no cover. In that case, I'm pretty sure he could have shot with no cover being applied.
So I thought Daryl's turn was just. Oh no, sorry, it's round 4, isn't it? So it's Chris's first.
Yes. Oof, yes, yeah. I had that wrong myself as well. Yeah, that last turn was Daryl going first. It's Chris to go first, and he will polish off these Bone Lords Chosen, which is significantly different than if they were able to take swords and make an attack into the range of trackers, giving them an opportunity to both wipe the unit out, but also to use Prey on Fear to regain wounds at the same time. We have to assume that these Swarm Brothers are going to clean this unit up, and we're back to that case of he is 4-0 up. Chris does very quickly need to push into the corners and be aggressive. Can Shalashaska use the Endless Horde to bring back an influential unit to run roadblock and be a difficult kind of position for Chris to play into? He would like to bring one of his powerful units back. His by far most significant powerful unit is the Bone Lords Chosen, and it's a big question of whether or not he has the card or not. At this point, Shalashaska, if he doesn't have it, the most important part of his whole game plan should be trying to get it. He should be looking to take letters and should be looking to discard his whole hand just for that card. When you have it and it's not useful to you, it's a bit of a dead weight, but right now it could really change the entire game. So
we've seen a 6 + 5, we're seeing an 11 hits going on to 2 of the Bone Lords Chosen. And Daryl currently has 3 cards sitting in his hand. I mean, any one of those could be Endless Horde, and it could swing things around to make life a little bit more difficult for Chris.
Daryl rolls well, but nowhere near well enough against another massive crit blow hit from the Swarm Brothers, who are doing a ton of work, particularly with their crit blow keyword.
So, as you've seen, Daryl has refilled his tray. And not
there we go. He wouldn't come back with Rattle Shirt. That is important. He would no longer have to cut them down, but the Bone Lords Chosen themselves are very, very powerful. So
Take the Black has come out. So we could see the Bone Lord in with the
that
Swarm
would
Brothers.
be very. Yes, we see him take the Rattleshirt card. Onslaught is a very powerful ability to take. Prey on Fear is very powerful too, particularly against free folk who are going to sacrifice failed panic checks very easily. That's a big play. That's a big play. I've not seen Take the Black get played in a long time for an attachment getting taken as opposed to having the wounds restored, because there aren't a huge number of attachments that have big value.
But the Bone
But
Lord.
yeah, this is crazy. He could already threaten to use Onslaught right this round if Shalashaska doesn't go and block it. Yeah, let's not forget that he has just killed the one unit which is worth a VP. Ooh, the score's at 4-1. And we ask the question, does Shalashaska have Endless Horde in hand? And if he does, is he going to play it straight away?
Endless Horde comes in once one of your units has been destroyed, right?
So you must redeploy a unit that's been destroyed. You replace one of your so the trigger for the card is off of a tactics zone, and if you take it off of horses, then the unit comes in unactivated.
Got you. I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it? Because if he's so far up the board, it would be hard for Chris to swing around with even the trackers if he does deploy over in the empty corner on Chris's flank.
Sorry, he can only deploy in his own deployment zone.
Okay,
so he would be deploying defensively, not to take a 3-point objective. But it's still a huge roadblock for Chris to play into, because Chris, the way the VPs are going, he has to get onto one of these two.
Yeah.
Maybe Shalashaska is waiting. He's waiting Chris out to see which one he commits to, but that he just took horses means that unless he plays the card right now, he's taken and covered up the zone, which has the best effect for him. Daryl's looking at how he can basically be on the objective but be as far away as possible. Or he may even be looking to just survive and might be willing to give up this token. I think he's aware that Onslaught could make a big charge, and he's trying to protect himself from that.
And it's a smart move, really. He's used the zone effect to do that. If Chris doesn't get up the board, which is probably a strong possibility, or tries to even make it that crazy charge at 12 inches and doesn't make it, all Daryl has to do is reactivate those raiders and put them back on the point to score that one VP.
That's true, yeah. I would, and interestingly, the Swarm Brothers are activated, so they can only make a charge with the swords. They can't make any other maneuver. So he does deny a lot of distance that they could gain by being out of range. And later on in the round, once the swords is covered, he can recover that zone. By taking the horses instead of taking the swords, he both blocks the sword's use while also saying you can't have horses and maneuver into a better position for next turn. But it indicates that he probably doesn't have Endless Horde right now. Chris blocks the letters, and that's really going to marginalize the likelihood that Shalashaska picks up Endless Horde. He's still got 13 cards in his deck. That means that he's only drawn 7 cards all game. Chris, in opposition, has only got 4 cards left in his deck.
The Endless Horde has dropped.
I misspoke. It's if you control horses, they come on unactivated. I thought you needed to replace the horses effect to have them come on unactivated, but by controlling it, yes, this is a very, very strong play. And me not knowing the free folk deck quite as well as I should, but yes, this is huge. He's able to deploy outside of the line of sight of the Swarm Brothers. and this is going to make things hard for Chris to get in there and score more VPs.
That is very, very, very strong, because Daryl actually has the ability now to just kind of sit, use his NCUs, use his Raiders activations to just wait out and force Chris, because at the moment the builders have no real value. They're not going to be doing very much sitting where they are. That Palisade has kind of hindered himself from being able to move them at the board. The track is the only real threat on this board, assuming that Onslaught doesn't proc.
The crossbowmen need to get into a position where they can pressure at least whichever side Chris is going to try and collapse down onto. He has a lot of more strength on his right side, Shalashaska's left side, but the trackers are the much quicker, more maneuverable unit who you would like to be the ones grabbing the token itself. What Daryl really has going for him in this second half of the game now is that Varys has used all his tokens. He can be much more... he can use the tactics board with much more confidence from now on. The indecision is gone. Knowing that he can play Endless Horde, for example, without there being any option to counter is huge. Knowing that he can take the swords and make an attack rather than being forced to use an activation is also huge. Unfortunately, he has lost the opportunity to use Onslaught, but I think that this game is really, really wide open. Chris has to be very aggressive, but at the same time, very, very careful, because one misplay will undo all of the speed which he's done to get up the table. And we're really seeing the advantage of the insignificant keyword, which is Chris has killed a lot, but it's not scored in many VPs yet. Interestingly, the Swarm Brothers do have the Eagle on them. And so the unactivated Bone Lords Chosen can really have a good chance of making the charge into their flank. This will play directly into Shalashaska having the first attack next round, or the first activation next round. So even if he fails to charge, he can follow it up with another.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't, if he does make the charge, then he can follow it up with a second attack, which is possibly enough to kill the unit. The question is Chris going to use these ranger trackers to try and tie the unit up? It's a very sacrificial play, but might be the play that he needs to make, because he needs these Swarm Brothers to be able to play aggressively into this corner for him to have a chance to score enough VPs to get back into this before round 6 ends.
So it looks like Varys has went. Oh, he's just picked up the unit. No, picked up the model.
I think, yeah, I believe so. Daryl has, of course, used all 3 of his NCUs, and Chris would like to keep the swords zone open, so he's just wasting Varys's activation as a possible option. We see the Free Folk Raiders who have a skin changer in the right-hand corner for Shalashaska waste their activation in response, and we now see the trackers making a move. I think they might be charging into these Raiders, with knowing that they can take a swords attack to follow up. Will make them have real chance to do good damage to these Raiders. A lot of it will come down to the panic checks, but you can be relatively sure that you can do at least 1 wound and force a check. With a 7-inch charge, they'll automatically be in. Or they may just choose to shoot. He may be scared of how badly the last charge went.
Yeah.
But with a panic token on him, as a weakened token, sorry, I think he really wants to get as many hits as possible by making the charge. It is, of course, 3+ to hit with ranged, with a better attack profile than the short sword in the charge. So between the two shots,
Looks like we're getting a dice roll. Oh, it's a 2+, so which is in still.
Yep,
Nice.
2+. It should be a total of more hits with the rerolls, 4s with the rerolls versus the 3s without. But interesting, actually, when you combine the second attack, it might have been better to shoot and then shoot.
Yeah.
But you deny your opponent the option to charge you back.
Yeah, because that could have been very worrying as well. If Daryl had managed to get his bone load chosen into the side of the trackers, kill them off, and then surge forth back into Chris's end zone, like, regardless of what Chris could have done, Daryl would have been ahead in points and could have immediately just been like, yep, I'm going to get these 3 points. Yeah, so we're seeing 4 hits from, and then a reroll from the charge, and still going to be 4 hits into these Raiders.
Hey, Bloodraven Rivers has arrived. Regular viewer, long time viewer, and yes, as 3 Sales says, it's 4-1 at the moment to the Free Folk. But the Night's Watch currently have the very aggressive position up the board. He has also managed to have Rattleshirt, of all people, take the black. And a big response. We see him pass the morale check. That's the big kicker on whether or not these trackers are going to be able to do damage. We see 2 wounds go through, but he passes the morale, which massively reduces the damage taken. Bloodraven's got his money on the Night's Watch to make the comeback. We've seen 1 Endless Horde and these Bone Lords Chosen come back. The game's wide open right now, Bloodraven, so if you're watching, I'd definitely stick around, guys. I think this one's really interesting. I think we're going to see a charge from the Bone Lords Chosen, and so Daryl can't move the Free Folk back onto the objective, the Free Folk Raiders back onto the objective yet, because that will allow Onslaught to get played. If he charges, because Chris has left the swords open, he will get counterattacked in response, which is rough. But it's a play that he needs to make, because every other move gives up Chris a very powerful play.
Oh, Daryl, you're
the Eagle. He just about makes a non-disordered charge.
Just made it.
Just about.
Is this a good idea, Daryl?
Interesting positioning there. The Builder Crossbowman, of course, can still shoot with the swords. It might be risky because of shooting into combat with the Swarm Brothers, but the more it goes on, the more and more I think that this Rattleshirt play of take the black is huge. The amount of options that Onslaught and is it Cut Them Down, his other ability?
Yeah. Prey on Fear, is it?
Prey on Fear, yeah. Between Onslaught and Prey on Fear, he has massively opened up these Swarm Brothers into a monstrous killing machine. So
we've seen the shields around the men gone, which is going to automatically block 3 of the 7 hits that Daryl's got through with his bonus chosen. So that's going to be 3 5+ saves. Yeah, 4 5+ saves, I say. And he saved 2 of them. It's going to be 2 wounds from the side, and then a panic check at -2, 1 from the corpse pile and 1 from the side charge.
He does have the panic token, which is very important. The question that comes with it is, can Chris risk a shot with the crossbowman and hope for a panic fail from the Bone Lords Chosen? I think that's a
fail.
It's a fail, but just the 2 wounds at the moment.
Do they have?
Oh, that's interesting. So they have cut them down, and if he uses the panic token and gets a 3, he will get the kill here. I really think that he should be re-rolling this. It's a 1 in 3 chance.
Yeah.
It's a very tough choice. A 1 in 3 chance, but if he leaves it, it makes the shot with the crossbowman very, very risky, because he will have to now take a panic check for being shot into combat. And if he keeps the panic for that, he has a very high chance of being able to force them to fail.
Yeah.
But it still combines with it happening at the same time as the cut them down. Sorry, I keep getting the rule wrong. The prey on fear from Rattleshirt, which means that there's a decent chance that the Swarm Brothers could heal off of a failed check from the Bone Lord's Chosen, except for the fact that they have generally very good morale.
Mm-hmm. So prey on fear is so there seems to be some sort of talking going on. So yeah, George is saying aiming on swords. Yeah, it seems to be the obvious just way of getting a counterattack and healing a bit up, which is going to be put them onto 2 ranks.
So we think maybe that the Swarm Brothers themselves should swing the attack. Yeah, at 2 ranks, you're thinking that they've got a good enough attack profile at 6.
Mm-hmm.
6 with that crit blow and sundering. It looks good.
It does seem that if Daryl really wanted to make use of this, he should have used that panic token and try.
Yeah,
and
I would really like
victory.
to see him take that 1 in 3 chance to get that kill.
And even then, even if he did that, even if you got 2, like he has nothing to lose. Even if you've got just a 2 off that and didn't kill the unit, you'd still only get him under 1 rank with that rebuttal with the aiming on swords.
Yeah. I think that the opportunity to gain such a huge advantage is worth the fact that it's maybe not that likely that you'll get it, but you win so much if you can do it. You gain so much from taking that risk that I'd really just like to see that token get clicked and that dice re-rolled. So interestingly, 3 cells, he can turn to reface, but don't forget, the only thing that Daryl really needs to do is delay him. And if he turns to face, then that's not where he wants to be. He doesn't want to be stuck in this combat. Even if this combat turns in favor of Bolton Skincare, he will score 1 VP eventually for killing the unit, but he's slowly drifting from behind. And the longer this game goes on, the more likely that another Endless Horde comes out and this unit just comes back and threatens him again.
Aiming to shoot with crossbows, more likely.
So yeah, Mickey says aiming with the crossbows, but I do... Oh, that's...
Yeah, Aemon has...
Oh, that's very interesting. He has Jayor. He's already used Amon. Amon...
Oh, okay, yeah.
Amon is on the letters and was used to heal the Ranger trackers to get them onto 2 ranks. This means that this swords cannot be used to heal. We have all just been speaking about the options with Amon available, but with only 1 rank left, it's a risky thing with the Swarm Brothers to make an attack.
Especially if
your 1 rank is not that powerful.
Yeah.
The shoot with the crossbowman is risky because you will force a panic check on your own Swarm Brothers, and they're still panicked. So it looks like he's going for the safest option, which is the Ranger trackers attacking. Yep, 6 dice looks like a Ranger tracker's attack, but without the charge bonuses, he's just making... Yeah. He has 2 hits, which are enough if he gets a maximum panic fail, and no longer enough thanks to the save. He has got the vulnerable. Oh, and he saves again. So he cannot deny control of the objective, even if we had a maximum panic fail. He maintains that combat, and it's in a position which is risky for Daryl. It's risky for Shalashaska. He needs to invest some resources into that fight, otherwise he will lose that objective in a few rounds' time. I love this game. This is a wide open game where every single action counts. Every single dice roll counts, particularly the panic checks. And I really don't know which way it's going to go. With Free Folk to act first next round, I think that the tendency is to want to take swords with the Bone Lord's Chosen in the middle.
Yeah, open them up for it.
I think what needs the most investment of resources from Shalashaska is to shore up these raiders, protecting the objective by themselves.
Yeah.
I think that the combat in the middle looks important, but actually he's already achieved what he needs to achieve, which is locking those units up. But never write off aiming on money bags to send a unit up to max health and become incredibly powerful and bite you for a later round.
So Blood Raven is saying,
Well,
I don't like the Nightwatch player strategy to attack 2 objectives. You just focus on one of them. Yeah, I mean, at the moment it seems that way, but what the kind of statistical chance of this board looking at this point is if Daryl didn't have an Endless Horde, it would just be all of his units against 2 raiders, and it could have been a very quick win if the Bone Lord's chosen hand have returned.
Interestingly, I like the fact that Chris has generally been very aggressive and discarded his tactics cards throughout the game. It's allowed him to go through nearly his entire deck. But he has literally gone through his entire deck. We're on to round 5 now, and he possibly won't even have any cards to draw in round 6. He has maybe even been slightly too aggressive with this, whereas Daryl, on the other hand, has still only ever seen 9 of his cards, including the 3 that he has in his hand right now. So he's only seen half of his deck. I much prefer the aggressive way that Chris has played through his deck in general.
So we've seen Steyr go down on the swords, onto the Bone Lords against the Swarm Bros, and that is a lot of hits. But a weekend has been used, I think.
Yep, so defensive counter came down, which has caused the unit to become weakened and lose all abilities until the end of the turn. We also see shields that guard the realms of men. He's going all in on keeping this unit alive.
Yeah. That's still a lot. I mean, even at max, he's still going to have to roll 2 4+.
We've seen Steyr come down. I don't know where Steyr is attached or if he's attached at all. I would like Steyr to be attached to these raiders who are protecting this objective. Although it's slightly risky that they could die and lose the objective, they need some help in this combat.
I think that is the Bone Lords went down because I saw Chris remove one of his Swarm Bros with the 1 dice at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is 50-50, right? So anything under 4 here is going to... Okay, nice.
Is it not a 5 with the flank? Or
no, 4+?
Yeah. No, 4+ normal plus the flank.
Sorry, 5+.
Even though he doesn't have thundering or anything like that. Yeah, so that would have been 2 5s to save.
Yeah, that's...
So he despite all the investment from Chris, he forces that attack through. Interestingly, I feel like that center combat was a trap. It had already achieved exactly what Shalashaska needed to achieve. And I would have liked to see them both invest all their resources into how this Raider versus Trackers combat is going to go.
Yeah.
I think that these Trackers can kill these Raiders during this turn, and that will have a much, much bigger effect upon the game than anything else.
So we've seen the Watching and Wall come out, which is going to push those... I'm assuming it's going to push these crossbows back a bit further back to make that charge a little bit more difficult. And again, Daryl is sitting on a corpse pile, so that is already going to be quite a difficult charge, even with the Eagle.
He's trying to sneak... It looks like he's actually trying to sneak past, and he looks like he's going to try and get out of arc. And he could either be charging the Raiders or just trying to shift and shoot and be aggressive towards them.
Yeah. I don't think he's got enough distance.
I don't think he can fit. I don't think he can get far enough through to still be an inch away from the Bone Lord's Chosen. But that's a really interesting idea and a really...
I mean, regardless, like, Daryl's Bone Lords is going to still have to survive 2 panic checks and 2 shots into them before they get into a front charge against the Builder's Crossbowman, right? That's going to significantly weaken up those Bone Lords. So even if he does get into prolonged combat with them, I think they could probably outlast them.
Interestingly, Bloodraven thinks that Watcher should be played before Surge. It's possible. I would say a weakness of my knowledge of the after a unit is attacked, like the specific timing on attacked. Carl, do you agree? Is that yes? Yes, you say that Watcher comes before Surge. After is attacked is before.
Watcher is after. Yeah, I do agree that Watcher.
Watcher is after the attack, but Surge Forth is after Destroyed. But doesn't Destroyed exist? Okay, Surge is later. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I can agree. I'm not saying no. I find all of those wordings pretty ambiguous.
Yeah. So you got Geo going down onto. Actually, no, sorry. Yeah, no, it is Geo. I did get it right this time. Geo seems to be going down onto the envelopes, and attaching himself to the crossbowman. Currently, he's only going to be getting it cannot be targeted by or affected by enemy tax cards or NCU abilities.
And interestingly, Bolton Skincare will draw his last 2 cards here from the envelopes. Coming into turn 6, he won't have any tactics cards left to play. He has been so aggressive with his cycling.
That's crazy.
Oh,
Without Bowen, he's managed to get through his entire deck. That's impressive. So skill preparations, Mance is going on there, but I guess he's not doing anything to him because of Geo at the moment. Feinting maneuver, when you claim the tactics board, you can make a free combat maneuver. So we're still going to get one of the shots out for the crossbowman against the. Oh, that's a very high roll as well.
Yeah.
One shot out against them.
Should be able to. They can choose to shift back, but he's not going to get out of any kind of charge range. He'll get a shot off, but suddenly it looks like the Night's Watch are now playing to not die.
Yeah.
I still think that they're both ignoring by far the most important part of this game, which is these trackers versus these raiders are where this game will be decided. The Night's Watch have to have the trackers win the combat, take that objective, and hold it. That's reliant on an endless horde not bringing on another unit to just wipe them out, and it's reliant on them winning the combat. And I think we need to see Chris throw some resources at that unit if he wants them to win the combat.
So we've had
at least if he wants them to win this turn, which they need to, because he needs to score those 3 VPs this turn.
We had 5 hits off on the. So he's already lost 2. 5 hits off from the crossbowman, and then he's rolled 3 saves.
With the Sundering, I believe. Oh yeah, sorry, they're 4+ save, not 5+ save. Yeah, he's managed to save a decent number there.
I kept him on the crucial 3 ranks.
Yeah, they got a good attack profile, and they are going to hurt these crossbowmen bad. They are in a real position that they could go and claim this objective. I think it won't matter much, but I don't think Chris should have shifted back. It wasn't going to change the charge in any real way. And actually, he just brought Daryl further to his objective.
Yeah.
So
we've got 6 hits and 3 with Steyr.
Oof.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a good roll. That's not a good roll, Chris, in the slightest. Oh, that's going to be 9 altogether, right?
Yeah, and they could go with this panic token and a bad morale. They are very likely to get wiped out here.
What's that morale? Is that a morale is a 7+, so it's going to go an A+, and he's failed the charge. He's failed it, and that's a dead crossbow.
That's dead crossbow on that attack. That's a very nice use of that Harma card aggressively.
Yeah.
That was not what I expected to happen at all in the center.
No.
And shows the value that these Bone Lords Chosen have had coming back, and how that single unit, that single card of that single use of the Endless Horde has made such a huge play.
Yeah. The Bone Lord Chosen still haven't activated. I don't think they have, George. I think this is them. And at the end of this,
7+, he will, no matter what happens now, he will push through and score those 3 VPs.
Yeah.
I stand absolutely corrected. I thought that this game was going to turn into a bit of a slugfest in the middle, with nobody really gaining the upper hand. and that it would be determined by whether or not these trackers can go through these raiders.
Yeah.
But that is now just this little superlative kind of bonus thing that isn't going to change this game at all.
And it looks like
gonna...
there's no real way of Chris managing to not make this a crushing defeat, which is going to push Daryl's. This is top table, right? So this is going to push Daryl's points further up. Jeez.
Yeah.
Mickey, if you're watching, you better hope Daryl doesn't win a tournament before you do. Otherwise, you're never going to hear the last of
it. The boneless chosen will presumably be able to grab that token for 3 VPs.
Yep.
That's going to get him to 10. And there is no way that Chris can get a decent score with this round. And yet this game has been incredibly close. Everybody in the chat thought that this was locked up for the night's watch at, shall we say, 3-0 down, but with better board position. But I tell you, that endless horde is what makes or breaks this game. And I knew that as soon as Chris became aggressive towards the deployment zone, the value of that endless horde just goes through the roof, because we see him able to deploy that unit and charge all in the first turn, all in the same turn. And that's such a huge swing. You get that unit back, but the positioning you get to make with that unit is as good as any kind of really aggressive positioning you can make with any other cards, such as forced march or fainting maneuver and all those kind of movement charge mechanics. Replacing that unit where your opponent really doesn't have control of ever stopping you from seeing their flank and just instantly charging their flank. Big plays.
Yeah. So I wonder if they're just chatting now about what could potentially happen. Because I saw Daryl didn't pivot his raiders after Chris made that retreat with the trackers. So I wonder if they're just chatting about potentials, and this is game over right now. Oh no, we're seeing a charge. Yeah, Terra. Yeah, you're right. It's. I think the biggest.
Yeah. Go on.
Colin.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can of course deny horses to stop them coming in unactivated, but I forget. But I believe off the top of my head, did he not take horses as the very first action of the round?
It was staggered
with man. Yeah. So he took the horses. He gained control of. He gained control of the horses very early, but he played the card later on a different zone. And yes, Varys has been out of tokens all round ever since the end of round 3. I think Varys burnt his tokens very early. And if I had advice for Chris, I would say holding on to those Varys tokens a bit longer would have been slightly better. I think he was a bit aggressive using them into Mance early in the game when the combats weren't really happening yet. You can stop the build-up of tokens, but I think that there were more influential plays later on.
And Terra, I don't think Varys could have stopped it in any way, because like Carlos said, he already had the zone. And it wouldn't matter anyways, because even if he had the zone, even if he took the zone and used the card, right? To replace
effects, so he can block the zone's effect, but because it doesn't have to be on the horse zone, he can just choose when to use it. You would have to block every effect that he takes on the tactics board all round, and with 3 tactics. We see this unit get destroyed. This is what I thought would happen. And I thought that if they were still in combat in the middle, then this would be incredibly influential in the game. But as it is, Shalashaska is presumably in position to follow it up. And yeah, we see him just march onto that token.
It looks like Chris can't even get onto the token, right? Oh no, you could have.
Yeah, it might. Yeah. Yeah. So they trade opposite tokens. If Chris had managed to hold the center with at least the crossbowman, then this would be a nice position to be in, and he could be racking up 3 points per turn. But as it is, he's just traded out a 10-4 win, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. Let's see if the guys want to go and do Are they in the TDS Discord? Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I believe they're in the other one.
I can't actually see if. Nearly done. Heads on. Oh, so
That was a really brilliant game, and
we're seeing an endless horde come on. Daryl wants to
okay,
ensure that he gets the max amount of points on this one.
which is fair enough.
Yeah,
You know, he really is hoping for a tournament win, and this tournament. Oh wow! So he's put a unit of raiders on into the flank, I assume,
Stealth raiders.
with a charge. 5 hits. I don't know why you didn't re-roll.
Because it was a disorderly from his one charge.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
And that would have been enough to take him down to 1 rank, and you wouldn't have had the point, right? Yeah, 3, and that would have been. Yeah, that would have been 1 rank, and then you would have lost.
Yeah, that doesn't unless Daryl can actually score some more VPs himself, i.e., by destroying this unit. It doesn't help him. The margin of victory doesn't help him. 10-1 is no better for him than 10-4. Now he's just been punitive to Chris's score. It's a crushing either way, but hey.
I mean, it's not just a tournament; it's also streamer versus streamer. There's a little bit more ego in this.
Yeah, he wants it to go down in history as a 10-1, and there's no denying that it is now 10-1.
Yeah.
But it really genuinely does not reflect how close this game was and how it really looked on the battlefield like it could go the other way for a long time. We see the power of the insignificant keyword because he has lost a lot of units, and we see the pressure that he was able to mount by gaining early VPs. And how that forced Chris into making aggressive plays, which he didn't really want to make. He was in a very strong position, but he was being forced to be aggressive, even though being aggressive in that situation can lead to his whole army falling apart, as shown.
Right, let's jump in the chat because they want to have a talk. So they're in game 2 in the NRS CDS. Evening, gentlemen.
Hello.
So that was fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, what did you guys think?
It's been the closest game we've seen in a very long time. Carlo was pretty much on both sides of the fence multiple times in the game.
Yeah, so was I. I just said there, like when I realised I only had 3 combat unit activations left, I was like, what has happened to my army? Where's it all gone? You had a really good turn where you managed to delete a couple of things, and I was just like, oh no, this isn't going well. But luckily, drew Endless Horde, which is definitely exactly what I needed.
So did you have Endless Horde? And yeah, because at one point I was like,
no, I drew it
right,
at the start of it.
Because I was like, you're definitely giving away the game here because you put the Bone Lord Chosen at the side and then immediately filled them back up. I was like, okay, that's ballsy.
Oh, well, I did have it at that point.
Yeah.
I did have it at that point, yeah. And I kind of put them down. I was just like, I'm just going to put these here because I might potentially have a card in my deck somewhere that lets us bring.
When you said that, Daryl, I looked at the tactics board and I was like, oh crap.
Oh no, yeah.
Oh man.
So I mean, I guess the question going into this is, Chris, obviously you were massively down on board presence. Like you had 4 combat units against what, Daryl's 6 or 7, I want to say.
It was 6, yeah.
And we saw you put the Palisades down at the very start. Obviously, as Carlo immediately mentioned, you were trying to funnel the game into one specific place in the middle of the board because you had the stronger presence with the unit you had. Was that your idea going in, or did you have another idea?
It was because obviously being out activated, if you wanted to be aggressive and come from my side of the board, those Palisades would at least buy me a turn or 2. Hoping to by maybe round 3 or 4 have leveled the playing field, which is sort of what happened. And I honestly didn't expect the vets to die that soon, just because I had a fire hand. I had both Donal cards where if I don't activate them, they're sitting there on the 2+.
Yeah, that was an absolute nuisance, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the trappers come in as well, Daryl. That was, I mean, brave.
Well, so you say that, but so the reason, do you want to know my reasoning behind it? So the influence by steer, right? And it was a free charge, I believe, the first one, because of the horses. So I was going to get at least 2 D3 automatic wounds, regardless of hits. So even if only if I get one more hit or one more wound from a panic check or whatever, I'm still getting potentially anywhere between 2 to 6 models from the unit, from a really tanky unit, before I start funneling stuff into it later on. And that was whilst they still had that defensive buff. So I knew I had enough activations to sit that out while still plinking off a wound here, a wound there. And the difference between, a full unit of vets and then a half strength unit of vets is it's much easier to see them off. So that's where I was coming from, really. And I think they did what they needed to do. And there's something that was, keeping in mind is that my units are all insignificant. So who gives a toss if they die? That's what they're there for. They were a roadblock. Unfortunately, that happened to Harma, and I didn't really want to do. I even said, Christina, I was like, I put someone. I think I put like a steer down on the horses, and I was like, I don't actually want to move anyone, but did anyways, and put Harma's unit right forwards. And I was kind of doing it half on purpose because I didn't really want the unit of Bone Lords Chosen to get charged, because at that point I didn't have Endless Horde in my hand. And I suppose it kind of worked, but yeah.
And the other big thing we've seen in the game, obviously, Chris, you didn't hold any of your objectives at any point in the game. Obviously, we knew that you, with the lower activations, you would have to push through eventually. But was there any point in the game where you thought, actually, maybe I should have sat back and kind of waited out what was going on?
Well, no, just because I had already made the plan. If I had drawn that Donal card where I get that defensive buff, that I was going to push forward for the center objective.
Yeah.
And having 2 of my units sitting back to gain 2 points around and leaving them out in the open, even with that card, wasn't a good idea.
That's half of your board activations, isn't it? So that's a big investment, whereas it's only a third of mine.
I don't know if you guys caught a couple subtle things that I think started to turn Daryl in his favor. One of which I don't know if you guys caught it, but he failed that first charge with the Bone Lords Chosen.
Yeah.
I was purposely keeping the counterattack with my vets that round for their charge.
Yeah.
And because I failed it, it was a completely wasted order. Plus, I was going next. I was going first next round.
Yeah.
And I had a card that gave me +1 to hit, and 2+ dice if I'm engaged. I mean, I was hoping for him to actually make that charge, because at that point I was already saving on 2s.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Then I think there was a panic test that my vets failed that knocked them down a rank, which for any other unit, I guess I wouldn't be that heartbroken about it. But when they're such an important part of my army, it's brutal. It's brutal to see that happen. But Daryl definitely played the army well, and he didn't give up, even though I thought I was winning for the first half of the match, but then it just slowly started to fall apart.
I suppose the next question to ask is to both of you. This is obviously a beta game mode. This is not something that is in full tournament circulation.
Oh my god, how stupid am I?
What?
So both times I've used feint maneuver, I've just charged into the front arc and not put them into the flank. You were just talking about how well I played, and then I realised I just messed up the best card she's got. Sorry.
Well, I'm such a nice guy that if I had known how that card works, I would have told you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess what do you think of the game mode? Do you think it's something that should I know Daryl particularly doesn't really like these kind of
No, I do like this one. I don't like Game of Thrones because I don't like the cards.
Right. Okay.
I think the cards are too swingy. I think I've been several times on the wrong end of cancel an NCU and cancel an attachment, and it's a miserable game to play.
So do you feel this is obviously a bit more of a fair game, do you think?
Yeah, so this is basically the Age of Sigmar and the 40k game mode, isn't it? Where you've got like the your zone, middle zone, and end zone, and you've just got to try and it forces you to not be super reserved, and you want to try and score the big points by getting over there. So I'm glad I managed to get a unit over there, and not just. I even apologized at one point. I was like, "I'm sorry, man. You probably think I'm being really boring, but this is just how free folk play." There was a lot of taking one step forward and taking one step back with these guys down.
Yeah. How
on
about
the
you,
bottom.
Chris? How do you feel about the game
as we
mode?
all know.
I can definitely see maybe newer players or inexperienced players that are playing this for the first time to not like it, depending on how their outcome is. Just because I can see games just like ending very fast.
Mm-hmm.
That 3 points that you gain for sitting on an enemy objective is a lot, and if there's nothing they can do about it, it can end pretty quickly. I personally like it.
What if you had attachment John and a unit of conscripts or something like that, and you had cheap ways of staying on back objectives? Do you think it would have been a different outcome?
I think if I would have paid Carlo money to give me John instead of Donal for the tournament, I definitely would have made something like that.
But
right? Yeah. I guess so. Attachments these days, I don't think are worth their cost when you can find the points to spend on an NCU.
Yeah.
Or when you take the black and just steal the best one from your opponent. That also works out quite well, Chris.
In all fairness, that really sort of hampered my plans quite a bit as well, because he had very wisely left the sword spot open.
Yeah.
And that kind of and actually you played that really well as well, Chris. I think a lot of people would have just been baited into taking that free attack with the Swarm Bros and probably failing a horrific Visage. Which I had sort of set up in advance, but you held your nerve and went with a different unit, which was definitely the best thing to do.
I was looking for any kind of strategy, however ridiculous it was, because at that point, like when you brought Endless Horde out, I was like, all right, I need to start making moves here, and luckily you had Mance on my Swarm Brothers, which gave them -1 movement. And if they didn't have that, I would have just made a YOLO charge.
Yeah.
Totally. The sword, get out of their line of sight, and at least get closer to the Raiders over there. But yeah, since it wasn't a legal charge, I couldn't even do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Well, Chris, it's been awesome playing with you, man.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. So I'm sure you guys already know who Chris is, but if you don't, he's got a channel called Sunday Slaughter. He's on Facebook at Sunday Slaughter Gaming, and what's your YouTube URL?
It's just youtube.com/Sunday Slaughter.
Awesome. And he does some really cool battle reports with really high production values. Things that make all my videos look rubbish. So definitely go and shows my 3 hours of After Effects experience. Really, that it is as bad as I think it is. But definitely. What's that?
I was gonna say, you guys are you're in for a nice surprise. I'm actually repping NRG shirt in the last battle report I did. So.
Oh, amazing! Yeah. So that picture that you sent is sorry, and don't take this wrongly, but it's the epitome of America. I just absolutely love it. Like like the stance, the holding out the model, the background. It was awesome, man. I loved it. I totally loved it. So yeah, check out the next battle report, because you'll see one of our awesome t-shirts done by local tattooist Kirsty Brown. So definitely worth checking those out. So thanks everyone for watching.
NorthernRealms.co.uk/store.
Yeah, /store. Exactly, yeah. And there's plenty. We've added some Lannister and some Baratheon varieties, and some from another artist called Greg Scott, who's did the sort of concept for a Greyjoy t-shirt as well, which I'm pretty stoked about as well. So
is Carlo still around, or?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Yep. Do you have any shout-outs? Do you have any questions? Do you have anything to say? Obviously.
No, I really did think it was a really brilliant game, really well played, and I hope that hope to keep doing stuff between NRG, myself, and Chris from Sunday Slaughter as much as possible.
Oh,
It's been
100%.
really, really good. And getting to play with the other content creators, make stuff with the other content creators is brilliant.
So I'm sure everyone by now. I'm sure everyone by now knows who Colo is because he's such a prominent member of the community. But if you don't, Colo is the proprietor of Song of Ice and Fire Stats, which is ASOIF-stats.com, which is where the first Brother League tournament is being run. It was also where the first TTS League was run, which was a really successful tournament. It's a really cool website where you can, and well, Carl, you tell people about it because you know much more about it than I do.
Oh, well, go on if I'm going to plug it. So, I mean, a Song of Ice and Fire Stats lets you submit your results to the pool of all the results that everybody submitted, and it uses some pretty complicated mathematics on the back end, which helps us really determine how strong we think all the factions are. It can help you make use for different factions, for different game modes, what your chances are with different units. And really, we're getting to the point now where we can start to use all the statistics that people have really, generously given their time to submitting. And I thank everybody who submitted and used and kind of interacted with the site already, but we're able now to start to use it to turn it into a really, really brilliant learning tool, hopefully. So hopefully over the next couple of months, we will see it transition from just something that people submit to something that can give back, because that's where it's always been heading towards. That's what its intention has always been, and we're starting to see like the learning outcomes come back to the community. So go and check it out, and hopefully you'll see some really cool stuff that can help inform you in
Speaking of being informed, Colo, me and Chris were just talking about, because he had posted yesterday asking about some advice for using Free Folk. And so if he had have used a Song of Ice and Fire Stats, do you think he would have used Rattleshirt Commander, which he did use Rattleshirt Commander?
No, I think that a Song of Ice and Fire Stats would have told you that you're definitely better playing with Harma, as shown here today by Daryl. And Harma and Styre are really your good go-to options at the moment. Rattleshirt is a little bit down there. So, Chris, but I see that you already ignored everybody's advice online. You already told you those things. So some people can't be helped, can they, Chris?
I actually said this in the video. You'll see it when it comes out. But I told them I didn't want to run anyone's particular list because it could have been ugly, and I didn't want to bring shame on anyone's favorite list. So that's the reason why.
Fair. Awesome. Cool. Well, I guess we'll leave it there, all right? But so guys, so keep on checking out the social media. We're doing a giveaway for Neutral Heroes 2. Once the page hits 400 likes, I'll be giving it away, and I'll send it to anywhere in the world. I'm not bothered about postage, so just make sure you like it at NRealms at Facebook, and youtube.com/Northern Realms. Instagram is at NRealms Gaming, and the merch store is northernrealms.co.uk/store.
I really hope someone from Madagascar wins this Neutral Heroes 2, and it's like
that's fine, man. Madagascar. I'll take it there myself, and I could do it the whole day. Yeah. Awesome. Right. Thanks everyone for watching. It's been good.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.